splendor of truth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace. I'm Janet Benkovic. As today's guest tells us, in the 1950s, the new genre of rock and roll had a great deal of confidence, and so did those who sang the music. He was no exception. Riding high on his stellar fame, the world was his proverbial oyster. He had groove, he had drive, he had style. But like it often is, the outside was a mere veneer. In the end, all was not it was cracked up to be. He was hungry, so hungry, and it gnawed deep into his heart. Trouble was, it would take a while before he realized it. Today, Dion DiMucci, the Wanderer, will continue to share his journey back to the Catholic faith and the new life it brought with us.
We are women of grace round the throne of the Lord Most High. And we lift up our praise from the depths of our souls, hear our cry. Oh, Lamb of God, it is our one desire to seek your holy face, women of grace.
Fame holds out a big promise: money, respect, freedom, happiness. But none of these is a guarantee, and often the promise is specious. It just can't deliver. Something more is needed, and that knowledge frequently comes only with time. Today, our guest, Dion DiMucci, will talk with us about this time in his life. He is author of Dion the Wanderer Talks Truth. Let's welcome rock star Dion DiMucci. Hey, Dion, welcome back to Women of Grace today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
It's good to be with you. I so enjoyed our time together yesterday. You helped for us to get an insight into those early years in your life, and they were certainly formative years on so many levels. And just to refresh our viewers' memory, you told us about your dad and how he instilled in you this love for life, this sense of wonder at creation and the beauty that God had given to us, and how he truly did help for you to learn to have an appreciation for art, walking you through all of the museums and calling your attention to those things.
Yeah, he did. The spontaneity of it, the free abandon. I guess maybe that's why I enjoy expressing myself in rock and roll. It's immediate. It's amazing. It's very free form. You could really express yourself. It's quick. It's not tentative where you recopy it. He would take me to like the art museums down in Manhattan. Even when I was a kid, he would put me on his back. But he would explain, you know, like maybe a Salvatore Dali. He'd say, "See the Last Supper and the heads." The 6 heads on each side of Jesus. Salvatore Dali is a draftsman. He must have drafted it. It's very formal and controlled, and it's produced. And then he would take me over to a Van Gogh, and he'd say, "This guy is an expressionist. He gets the paints, and he can't wait to get the paints out of the tube. He's just, you know, expressing himself." So one's an expressionist, one's produces his art, and they're both good, but you know, they have different approach. So he would, you know, at a very early age, I had books in the house. I didn't read, but I had these art books all over the house of Monet and Van Gogh and, you know, Picasso and Renoir and Chagall, and, you know, and I'd read a little about the guy. I was interested in the artists, you know, but because my dad was, you know,
yeah.
He was. But he like instilled this wonder for life, and you know.
And it's interesting too, because here you are, you're an artist, you know. You create music, you create lyrics, and when you write your lyrics, they're like poetry. They're narratives. The majority of them tell a great story. You have a goal in mind that you want to communicate. I don't know if that comes to you at the beginning of the song and you work towards the end of it and find yourself getting the message out, or if you're carried along by the song. Are you a producer when you write a song, or are you an expressionist?
I'm a little of both, but I'm going to tell you something. I just finished an album. It's called Tank Full of Blues. And Jeanette, I have to say, it's my favorite album I've ever recorded. I wrote some of the songs with Mike Aquilina, who co-wrote the book with me. Some of the songs are narratives, and he's amazing with that. I think some of the songs are masterpieces. And the reason I go into the studio at my age is I wouldn't go in if I didn't feel relevant. And after all these years, I've got to say I feel more relevant right now than I did back when I was 19 recording Runaround Sue and Teenager in Love and Abraham Martin and John. I feel it's amazing. God never ceases to amaze me, and I think that's God in my life. I know that is.
I was going to ask you why you thought that might be, that you feel more relevant now, and you attribute it to God. And how do you see that, Dion? What do you mean by that? In what way does this relationship with our Lord help you to perceive the world differently now than you perceived it in those early years?
Well, it's like a divine exchange. You exchange all your frustrations and fears and doubts and worries and anger and pain. You just exchange it for His Spirit, His wisdom, His peace, His security, His health, His everything that, and He's the author of life, and it's the ultimate. And I could tell you what I would look like if I'm saying I'm relevant now, I could tell you what I would look like without Him. It's not a pretty picture.
Yeah. And that's kind of the specious argument to fame and fortune, all of that promise that it holds out. It really doesn't deliver very well. It takes far more than that, doesn't it?
Well, narcotics it's like a drug.
Oh, it is a drug.
Success.
Success.
It's kind of like a narcotic, and it affects you like a drug. Sorry, and people run after it and think it's going to solve all their problems. And it doesn't. It'll keep you like a very thin veneer of being a man. If you don't ask yourself some hard questions, because success. Originally I thought, well, this would be the answer to all my problems. My wife will respect me. My kids would look up to me. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't. Your kids, to sit down and have cereal with them and listen to them, that's what works.
You're right about that.
He sat down and listened to me. That's what's important.
Yeah. Could you have told that to Dion DiMucci back in the late 50s when all of this fame was coming together? Would he have listened to that? If
Absolutely
Monsignor would have
not,
told
no.
him that?
No, I don't think so. In my neighborhood, like I said, it's a macho Italian neighborhood in the Bronx. And for some reason, I got the idea in my head that you were supposed to be born knowing everything. God forbid you should ask a question or have a fear or be open to learning. It was like, what do you want to know? The kid is here. Just ask. And I didn't know too much, but that's the attitude you walk around the neighborhood with.
Right, yeah.
And it had nothing to do with character. It was all respect and reputation and how you looked and positioned yourself. But the Monsignor in my neighborhood kind of stirred me and provoked me to think a little, because I really didn't know how to think. My worldview was very shallow. I knew I had a gift, because intuitively, just and instinctual, to grab the guitar and start a song, I knew when I'm in the middle of a song, I know exactly who I am. And I knew there was something beautiful about that. It was almost like it was like touching God. I wouldn't define it that way back then, but it was just a great feeling. It made me feel good.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what talent really is, though. It's a touch of God in us, a part of His creativity that we live out. And when we do see that, it is life-changing and transforming. Those early years then in your career, I mean, here you are and you've got this Gibson L What's the number on that, Gibson?
L1.
L1.
That little...
Okay, which, as you say, would today be worth a fortune.
Yeah.
You know, here you are, you've got this thing, and you know you've got a gift, you know you've got a talent, and you begin to express yourself through this instrument and through the words that you write. And pretty soon, people are wanting you to sing, and you form a group.
Well, there was a janitor in my neighborhood. His name was Willie Green, and he played guitar, and he was like kind of a blues guy. And you know, Willie, I think he overcame his drinking habit, and he was kind of he loved to hear the church bells in the neighborhood, and he had his own version of Ave Maria, and I couldn't wait to get out of school to sit with this guy. And one day, there was a company that heard that I sang at some church dances in Manhattan, the Schwartz brothers. They were opening up a company, a record company. And I was frightened. I said, Willie, they want me to come down. I was like 16. You know, it's like 1956, you know. And he said, just be yourself, you know, just, you know, go. So I went down and I got a contract. They wanted to sign me immediately. I went in, I went, hey baby, down I'm going down and you're down to town and we're going to, you know, want to rock and roll, and, you know, and they said, who's this kid? What's he? They didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, it was like, hey little girl, well, don't you understand? I'm gonna be your lover, man, all by myself, you know. And I'm like, whoa, hey kid, you know, where's your parents? We want to sign you up. They got to sign too, you know. Bring this home to your mother. So I got a contract, and then they wanted to put me with these three, what I would call, you know, singers from my father's era. They were like very square. I said, I can't do that. I said, if you want me to sing with some people, or you want a group sound, let me go back up to the Bronx and I'll kind of recruit some real cool guys that I know, you know. And they were. There were guys in my neighborhood with some talent from adjoining neighborhoods. You know, Freddie Milano was very good with harmonies. Angelo DeLeo was an opera singer. He was studying opera, and Carlo was kind of like a jazz drummer, and he would walk around the neighborhood scatting. Hey, come on, yeah, I got this riff. You know, and I'd love this guy. I want to follow him. Carlo, do that again, you know. But we used to go down to the Apollo Theater and listen to the horn sections. And this is where this guy got this stuff from, and I got it from. So we'd get back to the neighborhood, and I recruited these three guys who were on the stoop, and I'd give them horn parts. You know, like if you listen to The Wanderer, you'd hear them doing horn, like, in harmony, you know. I give them horn parts, and it worked. You know, like Teenager in Love, and we did a song called I Wonder Why. That started out almost, that was our first record, I Wonder Why. I named them Dion and the Belmonts because two of the guys came from Belmont Avenue that ran alongside of Mount Carmel Church, you know. And it had a ring, so we called ourselves Dion and the Belmonts. And our first record was I Wonder Why, which started like a horn. Don't know why I love you like that.
It's great.
And it was just a lot of fun because there were no rules.
Yeah.
And we came up with this rhythmic percussive sound because we didn't know how to write words, be honest with you. We weren't lyricists or you know, poets, but we wrote some simple stuff, and it worked, you know.
Mm-hmm. During this time, you met that lovely young lady that you told Monsignor would just, you know, make your world complete, Susan Butterfield, redhead, green eyes, darling as could be. When we come back from our break, can we talk about those early years in meeting Susan?
You got it.
I'd love it. Well, friends, stay with us. Father Ed's going to be back, and we're going to continue our talk here with Dion DiMucci. Find out just about this lovely young woman who became his wife. Stay with us.
I'm a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 'cause I'm a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, around, 'cause I'm a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 'cause I'm a wanderer.
Welcome back, friends. I want to recall for you that Saint Francis of Assisi is our saint this week, and we always want to ask for his intercession. So we do ask you, Saint Francis of Assisi, pray for us. Father Ed Sylvia has joined us on set today. As you know, Father is a Holy Cross Father. He is our theological advisor. He's our consultant, and we're visiting with our guest today, Dion DiMucci. He's got a great book. I want you to read it. Dion, the Wanderer Talks Truth, a really fascinating exploration of his walk of faith, and kind of giving you some insight into that through the course of our programs this week. We do want to remind you that all of the shows are available for you too. We're going to give you info on how you can get those when we come to the close of our program today. Welcome, Father.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good.
We have just been having fun, and I know you are having fun too as you're sitting offset here, listening and paying attention to what's going on. And I think that what strikes me about what Dion is sharing with us is the fact that, within this neighborhood that he grew up in, it was pretty clear cut. There was a pretty typified lifestyle, if you will. Everybody knew what their roles were, what the positions they held within the neighborhood were, and something new was developing in him. And I want to talk about this for just a moment, because I don't think that we often look at moments like that in our lives as those instances when God is really clarifying for us what our vocation and mission is. And it's clear, Dion, that your vocation is for music, that God has entrusted this talent to you for a reason. And how do we come to those moments? Does it just come upon us, Father, like it did for Dion, or sometimes does it involve a little bit more introspection?
Well, certainly there's no simple answer to that, and it is as personal and individual as many people's stories would elucidate. But the point is that Dion was blessed to be able to recognize this call and respond to it. And of course, God had given him the vocal talent and that sense of wonder and awe so that it all fit together, even though lots of other things didn't fit together. I mean, as Dion, as you said many times, there was a certain veneer, but the deeper realities had much more to do with that dark side of the wanderer and not really having it all together. I mean, could work very hard to make others think I have it all together, but all that glitters is not gold. The outside is not to be confused with the inside. There was still a lot of finding oneself, which is really a lifelong process. Coming to that knowledge of self, and hopefully then a cooperation with the gifts and talents and call that God puts into our lives, is something that unfolds. And there are dramatic moments, special people that kind of forward that, anchor us for a little while so that we can in fact grow a bit more in that direction or this direction. And certainly Susan in your life was a very important anchor like that.
Yeah,
at a critical time.
As you're sharing that, I'm thinking about the fact that I don't know if it's Socrates or Plato that basically says, the uncontemplated life is a life not worth living.
Right.
And when we have the advantage of a few years, we can look back and we can really see how clearly God's hand was moving. Your father and his influence in giving you this sense of wonder, your mom's work ethic that helped for you to hang in there through ups and downs. Then you've got Monsignor Perniconi, who really challenged you to look more deeply into your heart and find out what was gnawing at you. And this beautiful redhead with green eyes who comes into the neighborhood, I think is like a barometer, and became a barometer for you early on. And that's Susan, your wife.
Yeah, she, her father fell on hard times, and he had a restaurant up in Randolph, Vermont. And he moved into my neighborhood they took a little apartment, and he got a job down in Manhattan at Mayor's Restaurant. And I met Susan at school. Who's this girl, Her name isn't Maria or Rosie, It's like she was different, She was Irish English, you know, and
Exotic is the word you
yeah,
use, right?
Yeah,
A rare creature in
yes,
the
in my
neighborhood.
neighborhood, absolutely. And she didn't have 350 Italian relatives. You know, like
Go figure.
She was the only child of Jack and Midge, and you know, I was performing, or we both were performing at St. Martin of Tours in at her church. That was the Irish parish. Then you had the Italian parish. So we went there. I think it was one Thanksgiving, and Susan was singing with Joan and Joan. It was like Susan and the two Joans. They were singing some, I don't know, Andrew's sister's song, or you know, and I had my little group. I had the butcher on. He was playing bass, and my friend Little Roach, she was on drums, and. Susan got impressed with a couple of songs. I think she was more impressed with the new Gibson guitar I bought and the beautiful leather velvet case it came. You know, she was like, it looked like royalty, you know. And I got a chance to take her out to a local ice cream place, you know, Jan's up on the Grand Concourse, which in the Bronx, which is like the Champs-Élysées of the Bronx. It has the Paradise Theater. I took her there, and then we went to the ice cream parlor, and I told her about my dreams. We went to see Rock Around the Clock, you know, and it was like Bill Haley. I said I could rock like him, you know. I could rock. I could even groove. I don't know if he could groove as good as I can. You know, I was like, and she was listening to me. I think that was a big thing. Somebody was listening to me. You know? But we've been together ever since, you know.
That's amazing. And I know that we want to dispel a myth here. Tell us about the song Run Around Sue.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. When I wrote that, it just rhymed with everything. You can't write it about Roberta or something. You know, it's just Sue was, it just rhymed with two, and it's a good rock and roll name.
Yeah.
I was trying to, you know, write it about Rosie or something, but you know, it's just that's the way it came out, you know. I don't know, a lot of people ask, are you the Runaround Sue? I say, yeah, I'm the Wanderer, she's the Runaround Sue, and we canceled each other out, you know.
As you made your way through this period of time, Dion, you know, and that first record contract that you got, and there you are with the Belmonts, things really began to happen fast. I mean, it was like out of the chute, and suddenly there you are. I mean, you're a star.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was a whirlwind because, you know, here I am standing on the corner wondering, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? What's life about? And you don't define things like that, but all of a sudden, you're an outsider one day, and then you're a big insider, and people are looking to you, and it really, it's like you couldn't get in the door, and now you're in, you know. So it's a whole different set of situation you got to deal with, you know.
Dick Clark.
It was exciting.
Dick Clark from American Bandstand gave you some really good advice, didn't he, regarding the influence that you would have on people because of your fame as a rock and roll star.
Yeah, he just, you know, he's a regular guy, and he's a good guy, and he was always, you know, I always tell the story about Dick Clark. I say, when I first met him, you know, he's the forever teenager guy. He never grew old, this guy. So when I first met him, I tell people, you know, he was like my father. You know, he was like a father figure. And then the 70s rolled around, and I start looking at him like a brother. And now I regard him as my son. You know, I kind of, he just, but he's always been there, in a very changing world. He's been very consistent, and his advice was always like very solid, and you know, just, you know, very simple, very solid, very hard worker. He comes from a family of hard workers, and he's always been like a kind of somebody I could look to and talk to, you know, along the way.
Yeah.
Give a call.
Yeah, I think in your book you state that he said to you, now, you got to be careful what you do. You got to watch what you do, because the way in which you behave is going to influence a lot of people. And if you say you like, girls' hair a certain way, all these girls are going to run out and get their hair done like that, and their boyfriends are going to tell them to get their hair done like that. And
well, words are powerful. I learned that from him, that words are very powerful. And thank God he gave me that kind of advice, because I have 3 daughters. And, sometimes I hear people saying, well, you're powerless over people, places, and things. I say, listen, I'm a father. Believe me, words are very powerful. You could change the course of somebody's life with them. So, someone walk in a room and you say, wow, look at you, I adore you, you're so beautiful, and they feel like you could turn around and say something else to them that'll destroy them.
Well, our program's coming to an end, and I want to end on that note, because what you tell us is very true, and I think it rings true in our ears. And I want you, friends, today to be careful of the words you speak. They have a creative power, because the world was created through the word, and your words create as well. So be careful what you say and how you phrase it. Well, we do want to offer you a whole bunch of words in Dion's book, available for you at www.womenofgrace.com, as is today's program and all of the programs this week. Until we are together again, may the abundant life of Jesus Christ be yours, and may God richly bless you. Bye-bye.